So on that note, since everybody had such a fantastic week, you feel free to unmute yourself and chime in anytime that you want. One of the things that I wanted to bring up today before we get into the 7-minute sales segment is a tool that I had used a while back and had shared with a lot of people that came to our in-person boot camps and some of the ISA teams that we have trained. But it's something that I hadn't used in a minute. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and I told them, "Oh, go on this website, and you can download a few things there that would help you." So I'm going to show you guys what that is, and you can use it, pass it around the office as much as you see fit. I'm going to share my screen right now to show you what I'm talking about. Here we go, guys. So there's this website called Cram. C-R-A-M, cram.com. And what it is it's just a flashcard site. Super, super simple, but you can create these flashcards, and then there's an app on your phone, and you can play games and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's a really easy and effective way in today's world to study your rebuttals, to study the answers to questions, your objections, all that that kind of stuff. So what I had done before is if you go to cram.com and you were to type in ISA objections, capital ISA, and then objections, you'll find there's some stuff in here. This first one right here, ISA objections and rebuttals, some of the other ones might be too, but I know this is one of the ones that I had uploaded. And so if you go through here, you've got, again, on one side, we're going to use the same agent. There on the other side, you've got the direction to go and the rebuttal. Have you signed the listing agreement yet? That sort of thing. We're going to wait till spring or summer. It's perfectly fair if that's what you want to do. Oddly enough, this time of the year can be one of the best times, using some of the great information that Wally shared with us on a call probably 2 weeks ago. We're going to sell ourselves. So my point is, you get that on your phone right here. I have it on my phone, Cram app. And I search for those flashcards. It looks way cooler on your phone, but you can study it anywhere. There's a game you can play. It'll read it back to you. There's a couple cool things that you can do so you can maybe study it in a non-traditional way, but it's definitely a cool tool, and I would use it to pass around to your team to get everybody on the same page using the same stuff so that we instill that as like a core foundation principle across the office. And then the other thing is the exercises that we've talked about before. If you have a sheet next to you, and when you're making calls, you're taking note and writing down the things that you run into, whether it's objections, questions you can't answer, stuff that stalls deals. Hopefully you're writing those things down, and then you're spending time to go back and find better language patterns and better ways to solve those problems. And so if you're doing that, this is a great little notepad right here. And at the same time, you end up coming, up with an easy tool to help study them too. Yeah, we used them in our own office for a minute. I looked at them the other day and thought, man, this is good stuff. So guys, cram.com. Go in there and use that resource. Moving on to our 7-minute sales from today, or for today. By the way, I just want to make sure that I'm not having any audio issues from time to time. I have this speaker that will just cut out. And a lot of times you guys can hear me, but I can't hear anything that's coming back, or sometimes vice versa. So just let me know right now. Drop me a chat if you guys can hear me. Yeah, good. Julianne's got it. Awesome. Thank you, Tucker. By the way, there's a new book. The reason it makes me think of it because Tucker commented on it, but there's a book that it's uploaded in the Shot Caller Library. So this month's new addition to the library is a book that's called Exactly What to Say, The Magic Questions to Influence and Impact by Phil M. Jones. And here's the deal. It's a great book. It's tools that you can use immediately, language patterns that you can use immediately. Stuff like, would you be open-minded to language patterns like, why don't we do this? And as small as some of those things sound, it's just one different word can change the response that you get from the person you're talking to. So it's a really good book. Super, I mean, I listened to it like in one day. I think it's only like a 2-hour long deal. So I would listen to it a couple times. I'd make sure that you write down the 23 magical words, I think is what it is, 23 chapters that are broken down in 23 magical words, basically. But it's a good one. Simple, not a long deal, and it's stuff that you can start using immediately. So you can go to the Facebook page and check that out. Actually, now it's a folder, so you'll see The Way of the Wolf from last month is in there, and then you've got this month. So speaking of continuing our growth, today's 7-minute sales segment, time check on that, it's 2:10, boom. So today's 7-minute sales is how to turn angry prospects into happy clients. The book, ironically, will give you some tools to do that. If you listen to The Way of the Wolf, it gives you some tools to do that. But it's important that we do understand that, especially when you're prospecting and you're contacting people who did not express any desire to talk to you, that you may run into some people sometimes that are irritated, they're angry. You likely are not the first person to call. There's a good chance that some of the other people that have called were not polite, were not respectful, did not care about what that person wanted. What they cared about was what, you know, their agenda was, closing a deal, putting some money in their pocket, just going through the motions, looking for a deal, not caring about anything. So understanding all that, you know, we want to be the opposite. We want to empathize and understand that those things take place. What we want to do, though, is stay calm and don't take the bait. It's really easy. I say it all the time. Don't fall into the trap. It's so easy when you're calling, let's say, expireds, and you get that person, God, you're the 20th person. When are you guys ever going to start calling me? And, you know, you say something smart aleck, or you respond in a similar tone, and you start like defending your right to call or something like, how crazy are you? Well, if you want your home to get sold, not to, you know, just it's, remember, Mark, if you're on the call, one of the things that we talked about was, well, you know how you can get the calls to stop is, let's finally get your home sold. You know, is that going to defuse you if you're in a conflict with your significant other? Is that going to defuse you? Probably not. We want to stay calm. Don't take the bait to fall into that trap. It's really easy to do. I love this quote, by the way. Sales are contingent upon the attitude of the salesperson, not the attitude of the prospect. Think about that. It's your attitude. It's your attitude why you ain't picking up the phone. It's your attitude why I don't see you filling out the shot collar end of day, because your attitude is, you know, keeping you from doing it. Or if you are doing it, you're not wanting to look at the numbers, so you figure you won't put them in, or maybe you're doing it on your own. But your attitude is where it's at, right? Whether it's because I'm scared to make a call, whether it's I'm uncomfortable about asking hard questions, whether it's I don't want to ask for the order, whether it's I respond in anger when somebody cusses at me, and I hear it all the time in offices. Sometimes you hang up, hopefully, you know, before you say some crazy stuff. You know, other times I hear people getting into it with prospects, and honestly, like, where's that going to lead? Let's not forget what we're trying to do here. So some tips to stay calm and to not take the bait when they hang it out there, right? It's not their fault. It's your fault for getting hooked on it. Is listen to their frustration with sincerity, right? Listen to their frustration with sincerity. Like, how would I feel? How must they be feeling? What would cause them to feel this way? That's a way in your mind that you can run a dialogue to help do that. And don't take it personally, right? It's not you. It doesn't matter if it's me or somebody else. It's not like they're gonna, you know, they don't know me. It's not a reflection of you. So don't take it personal. Second, take the wheel. Take control of the call. Take control of the call with confidence. Don't allow their tone of voice to make you swerve from your roadmap, right? If we're using the analogy, take the wheel. It's very easy to hear, oh, yeah, what do you want? Are you another realtor? Are you another agent? And then automatically change our tone, change the path that we would normally take simply because of what we perceive their tone to mean, you know, or even if their tone means what it means, that they're clearly irritated, right? We should have a process that we stick to that does not swerve us off of the roadmap. In order to do those things, you're going to have to actively listen right? And practice some of those techniques. We've talked about them on other calls. Also ask clarifying questions, super important. Make sure that you're clear on what they feel, why they feel it, and make sure, right, by asking confirming questions as well. So based on what you've told me, it sounds like this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but, right? And then look for small victories. This is an important one, I believe. Look for small victories. You don't need to sell the last step, right? Just the next step. So sometimes if you have somebody who has a larger wall built up, they have a higher action threshold, however you want to refer to it, maybe you just break it down a little bit on that call and you leave it set up with a commitment to get on the phone in a couple days or in a week, whatever it is, and let's discuss it a little bit further and go for that rather than to lose all rapport and go for broke by pushing too hard on somebody that clearly isn't necessarily going to respond well to that tactic. So look for small victories. I mean, we already know that a lot of the people that we talk to in our business are going to need to be nurtured for a while. So if that's the case, and this person really is only going to go 50 yards with me on this call, then let's not just throw a Hail Mary. Let's stop at the 50-yard line, call a timeout, and pick this thing up in the second half or the third quarter or the fourth quarter, as long as we're moving further, right, down the field. So look for small victories. Here's some things that will help. Get on their side of the fence, acknowledge their frustration. Acknowledge their frustration. So things like, Mr. Smith, I realize you don't know who I am or my company. However, we take great pride in helping every family that we work with, and we've been recognized as one of the best in your area. If it'd be okay with you, what I'd like to do is, and whatever's going to fill in the blank, but acknowledge their frustration. Similar to if you studied our script, listen, I realize that you've probably gotten a dozen calls already from real estate agents now that your property is expired from the MLS. Is that happening already? Take what they're going to use against you and you use it before they can. You know, so I realize, you know, if you hear that immediate response, oh God, hey, I realize you don't know who I am or my company, but I just want you to know we take great pride in helping families that we work with, and we've been recognized as one of the absolute best in your area. Now, with your permission, what I would like to do is, and see if you can get to that second level. Another example, I feel the same way, that kind of philosophy, so I understand how you feel, right? When I get a call from somebody I don't know, sometimes I feel the same way. However, as a result of making these type of calls, I've had the pleasure of helping so many families get where they're wanting to go when they thought that they were just going to have to wait. So I still make these calls every day. By the way, what are your plans when your home finally does sell? And so these are some examples of language patterns that will help you calm the prospect, defuse the situation, and still move forward to try to get to the next level, which is really, you should know by now, we say it a million times, we need to get to the part where we can start asking the questions. And usually that first one is, what had you thinking about making a move in the first place? And the last thing here is focus on the objective and not the emotion, right? So think about this. Would you rather fight a battle, or would you rather just persuade the enemy to see your side, right? Or to join your fight rather than what they're currently fighting for? It'd save a lot of lives, right? A lot of emotion, a lot of everything. So rather than fight the battle, try to persuade the enemy. And remember, your goal is to build massive rapport with this individual over a period of time that will increase the trust, that will increase the likability, and their belief in your ability to solve a problem. Your goal is to not be better, not be superior, not be right, you know, not get off the phone, I showed him, not to be the goofball in your office going, you know, oh, how's it feel to, you know, look at what I did. No, right? And hopefully, you know, none of you guys are doing that, but I've just been in enough situations where I've seen, you know, that stuff time and time again. And unfortunately, you don't always realize the effects, right? You don't realize the check you don't cash. You know what I mean? Didn't know that, man, one of those people could have been somebody that you could have helped, and that in turn would have rewarded you probably pretty well. So remember, all those things, and selling is believing. You do have to believe in you. You got to believe in what you're doing. You got to believe that you can help people in order to say all the things that we're talking about with authenticity, and to not be, an idiot salesperson who's just out there with no sincerity, just trying to stack up dough in their pocket. Right? And there's nothing wrong with being motivated by financial reward, but I want to achieve the financial reward by doing things that aren't financially related, right? Intangibles. So in any case, before we transition into some call recordings, I want to shout out to Will. Man, talk about consistency. Will submitted 3 calls last week we listened to that were great. He uploaded 1 this week. And then I've got some calls from our team. Right now they're watching, so they're probably like, oh, dang. But we have a couple calls from our team that we'll listen to as well. But before we get into that, again, I want to open it up. And what Wally and I have tried to do on this call is to get people engaged as much as we can so that we can answer and help solve the problems that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, whether that's getting better with your script, whether it's a new way to handle an objection. We don't always have a lot of people on live with us. I know a lot watch afterwards, but we don't always have a lot of people that want to engage. But I do want to give everybody a chance right here. If you have a question, you've got anything that you want to bring up, go right ahead. I see 2 Tuckers on. Yeah, you must have logged out, logged back in. I got 2 Tuckers. All right, guys. So let's listen to some calls. Let's listen to some calls and see what we've got and provide some feedback. If you guys have any feedback as we listen to these calls. Hey, Al, I see you joining us. Welcome to the call. We're just getting into some call recordings. What's going on? How are you? I hear you. All right, let's see. I have my call recordings all loaded up here, guys. Should go smooth today. Let's start off with this live transfer from Lolly. She's one of the ISAs on our team.
Hello?
Hi, good morning. Is this Crystal?
Yes.
Hi, Crystal. This is Lolly. I'm calling on behalf of my agent, Trisha Daly, with Exit Home Beds Realty. We were calling. It looks like you had.
So, and I just want to break it down from a technical standpoint and provide feedback in real time every time that I happen to think of something. It doesn't always mean, hey, listen, I don't know everything, right? I don't. I have experience and I'm going to share it. And it doesn't always go exactly as, we try to engineer it. But just from a, take note of this standpoint, in the beginning there, hi, is this Crystal? What I would suggest instead is in that situation, you say, hi, Crystal. Hi, Crystal. And you assume that that person that answers is the individual. Obviously, it's a woman and that matches up. But if we were going to try to make small improvements, no matter how great we currently are, that's one thing I would take note of.
Requested information on a property, 1800 North Meadow Court in Killeen.
Yes. I was wondering, do I have to go through a lender or something like that? Or is there a way that I can, because I don't have very good credit, and either does my husband, but we make sufficient amount of income.
You don't have
very,
do you know what your credit score looks like at this time?
Yeah, I'm at like a 590 middle school because I have like a 620 and a 590 and then a 575 or something like that. And then my husband, he has, he's lower, but the thing that's keeping him is a $600 thing against the city, which we have the receipt that we paid already. So
I mean, this is an example where if you be quiet, people will give you a lot of information, and you can definitely hear the pain here, right? You can hear the pain, most definitely.
we just need to figure out how to get that to the credit bureaus to get it off his credit because we already paid it.
Okay. And so you want to get more information on what you can do, so you don't have.
And so, like, what we did, visualize it this way, guys. There's a bag of stuff that we need to know. Santa Claus, it's about to be Christmas. I already see Christmas decorations, but there's a bag of stuff, and I don't want to wait till Christmas. I want to know what's in that bag right now. Well, she pulled out and showed me one of the things in that bag without even having, for me to ask a whole lot or do a whole lot of convincing. Now, what I don't want to do is be so ecstatic with that one piece of information that I forget that there's likely a whole bunch of other stuff in the bag. And so we just want to keep, while we've got our hand in the bag, why you got your hand in the bag? You ain't closed it up yet. What else is in there? And so what you could ask right here, for instance, is there anything else that you see as an obstacle, right? Is there anything else that's holding you back? So I understand that you're trying to resolve some issues with your credit. Is that right? Great. What other things are you trying to get done, right, before taking the next step? While we're hand in the bag, let's see what else we got.
To go through a lender, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Or if there's anybody out there that could do like, I know there's a new program out there in Colleen. I have to go to a meeting or something like that.
I'm sorry?
I know there's a new mortgage for first-time home buyers company that saying that, they'll help people out, but you have to go to a meeting and stuff like that. I don't know if you heard of them.
No, I'm sorry. Okay.
So in this case, Lolly's an ISA, and she's not the agent. And so she's not the agent that's going to be working with this individual. So this is a great time if you're ever in a position like this. You say, you know what? I don't have the answer to that, but that's a great question. I'm writing that down, and I'm going to make sure and let so-and-so know. Is there anything else that you'd like me to ask? We can keep that going, but we can cause that. We can put a lid on that for now in that fashion. Right? I don't know the answer to that, but I've just written it down, and I'm going to make sure that we get that information from Tricia or whoever it is.
Okay, so would this be your first time buying, or have you guys owned a home before?
Yeah, this would be my first time buying.
First time? Okay, and did you guys have a time frame in mind as far as when you want it to be settled in?
Great job. You can tell Lolly knows the information that she needs to get. You should all know the information that you need to get. What information do you need to get? Ask yourself right now when you get on the phone, right, what's the first information you need to get? If it hadn't come to your mind by now, right now, like as in me finished talking, then we still have a little bit of work to do, that's all.
What is that? Yeah, I mean, from anytime from now, 3 months or somewhere in those homes.
Next 3 months? Okay. Crystal, give me 1 second. Let me get Trisha on the other line. She's the agent. I'm her assistant. So I can have her speak with you and talk to you more as your options at this time and see what she can do for you and answer your questions, with more detail. Okay? Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Great job. And so, what we do is then we get Tricia on the line and we say, here's what's going on with this individual. I'm going to connect you. And Tricia jumps on the phone and takes it the rest of the way. So that was a great job by Lolly of really using active listening. I mean, they definitely talked 80, Lolly talked 20% of the time, and the other person talked about the 80, which if, you listen to any of the stuff, we did a cool thing on that subject a couple weeks ago based on a study from, I can't remember now who it was that did the study, but it illustrated that fact that you want to get your prospect talking more. You want to ask 3 to 4 questions about pain, those kind of things. So Lolly did a great job there. Also, one thing there on the end, what we try to get in the habit of is not saying, would you have a minute so that I can get Tricia on the phone with you? What do you think is going to happen if you ask that? 9 times out of 10, if you give them an opportunity to get off the phone, they will. So rather than do that, what we say is, hold on just a second. I'm going to get Tricia on the line. And we put them on hold. So great job, Lolly. Let's see what else we got. We've got one more. Miranda hasn't expired. So this is an expired call. Let's see what we got here.
Hello?
Hi, Nancy.
Yes.
Good enthusiasm, right?
Hey, this is Miranda. I'm calling on behalf of Keller Williams. I noticed that your home actually just recently canceled off the market. You're probably starting to get a ton of phone calls from agents. You're probably pretty frustrated about your property not selling as well. Is that correct?
No, we took it off the market quite a few months ago.
Okay. Well, do y'all still have plans on selling possibly, or?
Maybe in the spring.
The spring.
I don't
Okay.
think the market. Yeah, because I don't think the market's really good right now.
Right. Well, the reason.
So, I mean, there's a couple of things right here. One of the things, if you guys listen to that exactly what to say, or you listen to the way of the wolf, or you listen to a lot of other things, including stuff that Wally and I have talked about right here. Rather than defend, we know some tools. We have some tools to defend that next spring, right? We have them. We talked about them on a couple calls ago. But rather than to jump right into that, like that could be really easy, right? We could ignore it. It sounds a little bit like Miranda's going to roll over it here and try to build some more rapport, probably come back and have to deal with it again. But that's an option, or we can immediately try to answer that issue. Although right now it's a little early. Or what's a great one and one of my favorites is, that's interesting. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? That's interesting. Can you tell me why you think that? And that'll just provide the opportunity to develop more rapport and better understand why they have that perception, right? I can assume why. And you're probably right. But to have them articulate it is a whole different story.
I'm calling it to actually pretty sure I can help whenever the time does come. Our approach to real estate is different. We actually have a proven, repeatable system that's backed on market research. That's actually helped thousands of homeowners just like you sell their homes for the most amount of money in the least amount of time. Before I go too far, why were y'all looking to sell originally? Were y'all thinking about downsizing or possibly relocating?
So it was great transition. You can see she knows her stuff. That's right off of a script that she is working with. It's an alternative script that we are using to just kind of measure, do some comparisons. But right here when she says, so why were you looking to sell the home originally? At that point, we should let them answer and not give them any information, right? Don't answer it for them. We can ask additional questions, but ideally, when you ask a question, ask one question and let them answer before asking other questions, and don't give them information which that they can base their question on. If I take a little piece of what you gave me and a little piece of whatever I want to give you, you got half of the right answer. If you force me to give you all of it, you got all the right answer.
Yeah, we just didn't like the complex that we were in. Or the development that we were in.
How long have y'all lived there for?
Pardon me?
How long have y'all lived at the home off Bentgrass Circle for?
2.5 years.
2.5 years, okay. And were you guys?
Wow. So you moved out pretty quickly. Can you tell me more about what you didn't like in the area? That'd be a good opportunity to explore the pain and build rapport and empathize at the same time. I've been in a bad subdivision.
Happy overall with your previous agent?
No, not really.
Okay. Do you know if your agent possibly had advertised the property online or taken professional photographs?
Yeah, she did all that.
Okay. Well, so y'all are thinking about relisting the property in the spring, you said?
Yeah.
So right there in the script, guys, she is doing fantastic, but in the script right there, it transitions to, so would you mind if I make a suggestion? I'm trying to think exactly what the words are, but yeah, I think so would you mind if I make a suggestion? And then here's where we would go into a value statement and transition to a soft close for the appointment. It sounds like she recognized that that's where she should go, and then she kind of, for lack of a better word, maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
I mean, we just reaffirmed. You see what I'm saying? We just reminded it. We were doing a good job of moving forward, and it very well be that this person isn't willing to compromise on waiting. But we sure don't want to remind them. At that point, we were building some momentum. Shoot, let's keep this thing going. Not, oh, remember, you're going to wait till spring, right? Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Let's reaffirm my stance. We talked the other day about consistency. And the more that people defend their stance, the more committed they are to it, right? So if I say you're going to wait till spring, yeah. Well, you said earlier that you're going to wait till spring. Is that still what you're going to do? Yeah. Right? I'm building all this defense for them against waiting until spring. And now for them to say, you know what, actually, after saying that so many times, I'm going to change my mind. They don't necessarily want to do that because it's not consistent, right, with being consistent and what they have stood for. So just think about that.
right now it's not a good time. I think, with the holidays
Right.
coming up and everything, it's not really a good time. So I think the spring is probably a better time, and maybe, this particular development at that point will maybe look nicer than it looks right now, because
Pick up a little bit. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's perfectly fair to want to do that. Oddly enough, though, this time of the year is one of the best times of the year to sell a home. Not only are there fewer homes on the market giving you less competition against which to sell, but also the buyers who are looking for homes are actually more serious about buying a property, more motivated. Can you see how your home would actually be more attractive to potential buyers at this time of the year?
Yeah, probably not.
Okay.
Well, why don't we do this at the very least? I mean, so that was great. She delivered it great. You're not always going to get, yeah, it makes sense, but you could tell the wheels were turning. She don't think so. I don't think so, but maybe you could convince me. And so there's a soft, there's a chance here to get to the next step, very likely, like we said earlier. You don't have to jump right to the final step. Let's get to the next step.
When the time comes, I'd love to have Mike Scaffis, like I said, he's with Keller Williams. I'd love to have him maybe touch base with you, talk with you a little bit more in the near future, and then maybe touch base again closer to the spring, kind of see where things are at that point in time for you guys.
Yeah, are you a local real estate agency?
Yeah, Mike, he's actually been in the Kingston area for about 16 years now. This is just my cell phone number. I've just never got around to changing it because I've had it for so long. Right.
Okay. It seemed like it was
Right.
far away, so I'm thinking,
Yeah, I get that. No, I get that all the time, and I should change my number, but I just saw, I've had it for so long, and friends and family, it just would be such a pain in the butt just to change it.
Yeah.
But
okay.
right. But I will go ahead and I will have Mike touch base with you in the future. Do you have maybe a good email I can have him send some information to?
Yeah, well, but just so you know, this was listed with a Keller Williams Realty before out of Salem, New Hampshire. So I don't know if this is the same agency or not.
No, there's actually, we've gotten that before. There's actually there's different Keller Williams branches, if that makes sense. We're with a whole different Keller Williams. I see here that y'all are with Keller Williams out of Salem. We're just regular Keller Williams.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sounds like Miranda doesn't quite have her information.
So
She doesn't sound too confident, guys, but you fake it till you make it in this case.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can touch base again in the spring. I mean, we'll maybe look at different agents and maybe one that I think might be more familiar with the area and might be more familiar with this particular development,
Right. Well, I know.
So, I mean, this is great. This is great.
Like I said, he's been in real estate for about 16 years, residential and investment.
his goal as a real estate agent is to build a strong and trusting relationship. So of course his goal is to also not only build a relationship with you as his clients, but also to help you sell your home for the most amount of money in the least amount of time. Do you have maybe a good email I can have him send some information?
And so it's just a pet peeve of mine, but the whole thing, like if I was, sitting next to her, helping her get better, I would say we got to help put out the ums.
Information to, possibly?
Yeah, just as long as it's not going to be like,
bombarding. No. He'll probably just send his some information about him and the company itself, and then just his contact information as well.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Then it's N Valenti VALENTI @HET.net.
Okay. And this is a good number for him to contact you guys at in the near future. 978-828-8126.
Yeah, that's my cell phone.
Okay, perfect. Well, it was definitely a pleasure talking with you, Nancy. And I do look forward to possibly speaking with you in the future. And you have yourself a wonderful day.
Okay, you too. Okay.
Bye-bye.
So that was a great job. Great job by Miranda on getting a lot of good information and, qualifying a nice nurture there for Mike. And I'm sure, he'll stay in touch with that and probably end up converting it. But asking those questions, giving them an opportunity to talk, all super important. We'll finish things off with this call here from Will. I don't know how long it is, but maybe we can fit one more in, but let's see what Will's got this week.
Hello? Yes, is this a Florida residence?
It is. This is Scott.
Hey, Scott. This is Will Withers. I'm with Tony Legendry's office in Rio Rancho. We're realtors. And I can see that your home's no longer on the MLS, and I was wondering, are you still trying to sell your home, or have your plans changed, or where are you at?
Plans changed.
Okay. Did you decide not to sell it, or to wait, or what were you thinking?
Not selling it.
Plans changed, 2 words. Not selling it, 3 words. I mean, I could tell as soon as he said plans changed, this is going to be one of those. You have to ask, oh, really? Tell me more about that. Like, this is where you got to ask some open-ended questions for sure. This guy's going to try to be real short. At least I could change my mind immediately, guys. But in real time, when I'm trying to filter the code, right, read the matrix in real time when I'm on the phone. So I'm taking what I got and I'm basing it on that. And the second he might turn into the nicest guy in the world, and then I base it on that. But you should be thinking in real time about who you're talking to.
Really, just decided that you're going to stay in Rio Rancho and
or reaffirming that position right there, as I just talked about. All right. So are you just going to stay? Have your plans changed? Yeah, my plans changed. So your plans have just changed. You're going to stay there, huh? Yeah. So you don't plan on selling again? No. We're like just giving them like more strength in that position.
Bored, or were you not getting what you thought was fair?
What were you thinking when you put the home up for sale? Would have taken us in a different direction.
Will, I don't care for people looking to sell my house.
It sounds like you've probably gotten calls from 10 or 15 other agents, haven't you? I understand. I get calls all the time. So, when I get calls from people I don't know, I feel the same way and I sound the same way as you do right now. But let me tell you, if you can, and we can get right into, it's, something we could try, a strategy that we have in our tool belt to use in this situation.
Oh, okay. Was there, hang on a sec. Have I been rude in some way?
No, not at all.
So think about it. This is a great call. Will's fighting for the opportunity here. That guy's just trying to get off. But there's so much to learn right here. Again, like we're talking about, why should I, to take that stance of have I been rude or something? Again, what's the goal here? It's not a battle. I don't want it to be a battle. You know what I'm saying? And
Well,
Not at
I
all.
was gonna,
Taking it off the market.
right, and I was just wondering, sometimes it takes
So why were you selling the home when you put it on the market?
it off the market because you didn't get a fair shake from realtors. Sometimes they take it off the market because of health reasons. You know, there's lots of reasons, and I just wanted to know whether.
So this is where, you could get that guy to stand up real quick. Hey, listen, obviously you don't plan on listing your home anytime soon, and you sure aren't going to do it with an agent, are you? No, I'm not. I understand. And if I didn't believe that I could help somebody like you, I would hang up right now. But we take great pride in helping homeowners get where they want to go when they originally thought that they may have to wait to sell the property. That's why I make these calls, right? I don't always enjoy making calls. I know you don't know who I am, but the fact is that we take great pride in helping people who still want to sell their homes, who weren't able to sell it successfully with other agents. By the way, what were your plans when you had the home up for sale? And the guy's going to feel like, oh, okay, most people don't respond that way. Most people either get rude and combative, and one of us ends up hanging up on each other, or, right, they don't have a real strategy like that to bridge me over, the hump there.
Is this something that you just put off, or something that you're not going to do at all?
We're not going to do it all.
I understand. Well, listen, that's not a bad thing. If you need some help or what have you down the road, you're welcome to give us a call. My number's on your caller ID. We've been in Rio Rancho 10 years. We're pretty good at what we do, and we're glad to help.
So see that? There we go. If anything, we're a minute and 40 seconds. This guy, whether or not there's any real opportunity here at this point, we would question in any case. But that right here, where we get into, we've been in Rio Rancho for 10 years, and what you're about to get into here, Will, is probably what we should have done maybe a little bit earlier. When you said, have I been rude? Instead of saying that, we could have went, listen, I understand that you don't want to be talking to agents right now because you probably had 15 already call you today before me. But the reality is we've been in Rio Rancho for 10 years. And I talk to people all day long that tell me they're not going to list. And you know why? It's because they have an agent before that convinced them that their home won't sell. Here's what we have done for people in your area. And again, I'm just going with the flow here, but it should inspire you to come up with some things that you can talk about.
Help if we can.
Okay, good.
All right. Well, listen, you have a good day.
Okay.
So that was, that's a tough call. I mean, they happen. Will did a really good job of staying cool, calm, and collected, not turning into, a typical salesperson because they were hit with somebody who wasn't responding the way they wanted. We talked about in the 7-minute slides thing earlier, don't let their tone affect your process. Like that was a good example of not taking the bait. So good job on that one, Will. Who knows what's up with that person. At this point, based on what we know, I would say it's not an opportunity, so I wouldn't be sweating it. I don't sweat it anyhow. But if I said, what could I have done better? I never asked him, what were those plans, right? If your home had sold, where would you have gone? What were you thinking originally? What was it that caused the plans to change? What's the other person think about that? If there's other people involved, what's your wife think about that now that you're going to be staying there? All just different things. As we're talking right now, I could be writing these things down. We're brainstorming. And next time, I've got some things that I can use. And over time, I'll find which ones work best. And over time, I'll create the habit where I know them and I say them without having to think about it. But right now, doing just like that exercise of listening to the call, what could we have done better? Let's write down some tools that we could have used if we don't have them already, and make sure that we start using those so that we can create the habit, and then also figure out what works better than something else, right? I don't have the magic words. In a lot of cases, there's not one magic bullet, guys. But in the people that you're talking to, a lot of times what those magic bullets might be. So let's think about that. All right. So good calls. Thank you, Will, for uploading. Remember, everybody else, you can upload your call recordings. There's a bit.ly link, bit.ly/shotcaller call recordings. And you can upload yours. Also, make sure that if you're making the dials and you're getting the contacts and you're getting nurtures and appointments, that you're putting that in our end of day form so that we can see the success that you're having. There's a link in the Facebook group, shot call. It's a bit.ly link, bit.ly/shotcaller EOD, stands for end of day report. And you can fill out the form and get on the board here and be part of the group. Mark, I know Mark was on a little hiatus, taking some well-deserved time to himself, and then was back at it last week trying to build some more momentum. So I would love to see him break that 10,800 or 302 dial mark, because I think that's where we were last time. Some of these numbers haven't moved, and I know that some of these people, you know, they are making the dials. Some of these watch these calls afterwards, but whether you're live or you're watching it afterwards, let's help each other hold ourselves accountable and show me what you're doing and show everybody else what you're doing. Let us hear what you're doing that works. Let us help with things that you're doing that aren't working. That's what our goal is here on these calls. So on that note, we have a few minutes left. I'll open up the airwaves for any comments or anything from anybody. And
Hey, Jeff,
you know,
can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. This is Dan Puz and Tucker from Reno. Got a question on some tips, maybe some strategies that we can use to help get some of these listings away from the property management groups, because we do a really great job with some of these out-of-state homeowners on the phone, getting them to want to list their home with us, and then comes the phone call, well, let me call the property manager and let them know what we've agreed to. And then all of a sudden it goes quiet and we don't get a call back from the prospect. And then of course we don't get a signed contract, and those property management people are laughing at us. Come on, Jeff, help us out with some tips, brother.
You know, on the spot. So here's the first thing that comes to my mind already is, let me make that call for you. And I don't know how you fit that in to what you're doing, but that is the first thing that I would do. Same as back in the day when somebody would say, I got to talk to my attorney. No problem. Let's get them on the phone right now. Matter of fact, I know that can be an awkward conversation sometime, and you may not be the best to have it. Why don't you give me his number and I'll call him for you and explain what we're thinking about doing. I'd try to find some way, if there's any way possible, for you to help initiate that conversation. That would be one. The other thing, recently I was talking with a team that's in Florida. I can't remember. Anyhow, they deal with a lot of second homeowners, vacation property owners. The people even that are moving to the area a lot of times are out of state, as well as the people that own the properties that they're trying to win listings for. And a lot of the obstacles they deal with is distance. And so just in your case, I know it may not tie directly to property management, but although I think we can still find a way to weave it in there, it's eliminating the distance. And so using virtual meetings, finding something before, like if it was somebody down the street, my goal in talking to you, Dan, is that I'm gonna come over there right now and I'm gonna see you and I'm gonna win the listing, right? That's the goal if you're right next door. If you're not right next door, maybe that is not the best goal to push for, because there's too much distance and but I just can't get to there. I can't get to there, there's too much distance. So instead, this team and I talked about was creating something in the middle, like a power seller analysis. This is just a verbiage that I used as we were talking, but the power seller analysis. And so what they would do in theory is, when they were talking to a seller who was out of the state, rather than to push for a listing or some listing presentation over the phone, or when can you get to town and that whole sort of thing, they would set up a virtual meeting to do a power seller analysis, where they could see each other, or at least the customer could see them, which collapses the distance and now eliminates that's a stranger factor. No other agent is probably doing that. And then on that call, we have so much more rapport, and those other things, like I just said, are off the table. Then I can push for whether it's, let me help you negotiate this discussion, with your property management company so that it works out in your best interest, or if it's now, let's see when I can go over exactly what we would do to help you get the most money for your home, right? Either way, that middle point when you have so much distance to cover and you're just a stranger and you can't get in front of them, I think that helps. Does that help you feel like you got anything?
That's a great tip, and I never thought of getting right in the way and jumping in the middle of that train wreck about to happen of the property management company and the seller getting together, and I will use that in the future. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good. My speakers, hold on just a second. My speakers, like I said, messing up from time to time. I think that's some good stuff to try there. Remember that there's like tools, so much that we have now at our disposal. I remember a long time ago, I was one of my favorite sales things talked about how to change people's base, and it was talking about, hopefully you guys can hear me right now. It was talking about how to eliminate that distance factor. And then this was a guy talking about like in the 50s and 60s. So his angle was, if you were talking to somebody who was across the country and there was an obstacle of, I don't know you, you're too far away, all that kind of thing, he would talk about, hey, listen, all that we're talking about here is a few hundred miles. And in today's world, I'm not more than 3 hours away from anybody. As a matter of fact, if I tried to drive from here to San Antonio, it'd take me longer than it takes me to get in front of you in New York City. So I promise you that anytime you want to sit down and meet face to face, I can be there within 3 hours. But, and that was just kind of his angle to change their base. And so in our case, when you have those out-of-state owners, you are a stranger, and, you got to find some way to eliminate that. Thank you for, Dan, you guys are killing it. Tucker, you're doing an awesome job, consistent, putting your numbers in. I see them every single night. You and Eddie every single night putting those numbers up. So great job. Let's get some calls uploaded next time. And on that note, let's see, anybody else have any good news or anything that they want to ask, share, comment on? All right. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. Remember, by the way, yesterday was the 1st. It may not be a bad idea to spend 2 hours tomorrow or Sunday and reach out to that stack of new expireds that hit the market yesterday, or became available for you yesterday. Send a text out on Sunday. Send a text message out. Hey, I noticed your property came off the ML. I noticed your property. What would I say now? I noticed your property was for sale recently. What is it, Dan? Shoot, I now I forget. I have a text that works great every time. I just want to be specific on the wording. I would send it out on a Sunday, and it would say, hi, I hope this is the right number. I saw that your property just came off the market. Would you be open to a call next week? I think that's what I said. Could I call you next week? And all I was looking for was to pique the curiosity and get the, are you an agent or okay or whatever, anything that wasn't screw you, I would call, right? And I just prioritized based on the responses. But you would get something out of it, I guarantee it. If you do that Sunday, you'll set your week up with a few people to call that probably be pretty warm and easy, the lay downs, so to speak, and who don't like that. All right, guys. So have a great weekend and keep smiling and dialing. We'll get this recording uploaded. Don't forget to visit cram.com. Get your study material, create your own, and let me know what you put up there and share it with the group. Have a great weekend. See you all later.